Bolivian President Luis Arce has signed a contract with the Russian Direct Investment Fund for the supply of the Sputnik-V vaccine to fight COVID-19. Clinical trials of two of Cuba's COVID-19 vaccine candidates named Abdala and Mambisa are advancing, with both proving to be safe. Explosions rocked Yemen's Aden airport on Wednesday, killing at least 26 people shortly after the arrival of a plane carrying a new Saudi-backed unity government. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. Bolivian President Luis Arce has signed a contract with the Russian Direct Investment Fund for the supply of the Sputnik-V vaccine to fight COVID-19. President Arce, who thanked the Russian authorities for their support to combat the spread of the novel coronavirus in the country, informed that after negotiations and the evaluation of several proposed vaccines, it was decided to secure doses of the Russian vaccine to immunize the population. The first official shipment of the vaccine is due to arrive at the end of March with 1.7 million doses, while another similar shipment should arrive at the end of April and a third in May.
This is a very serious issue that forces us to be absolutely responsible with the Bolivian people, not only on the technical side of evaluating all the alternatives and making the best decision for our country in terms of vaccines, but also we do not want to make any mistakes on negotiating with intermediaries. We went directly to the main sources, to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer made contact with its official distributor, and with the help of the Russian embassy here in Bolivia, we managed to contact them. We managed to carry out the negotiations that have happily ended in good terms for all Bolivians.
In Brazil, a sudden storm caused the death of at least 5 people and the disappearance of another 2 in the state of São Paulo. On Tuesday night, heavy rains caused landslides and flooding in the city of Embu das Artes on the outskirts of Greater São Paulo. According to local firefighters, a mother and her 2 children died after being buried by a mudslide, while 2 other members of the same family remain missing. A 5th victim was dragged away by the mud. Argentina's Senate passed a voluntary interruption of pregnancy bill in the early hours of this Wednesday, marking a historic advance for women's rights. The Senate approved the landmark law to legalize abortion with 38 votes in favour, 29 against and 1 abstention. Pro-choice campaigners who had gathered outside the Congress to await the result erupted into celebration as it was announced at just after 4 a.m. this Wednesday. The bill, which legalizes terminations in the first 14 weeks of pregnancy, was approved by Argentina's lower house earlier this month after being submitted to Congress by President Alberto Fernandez. Tweeting after the result was announced, President Fernandez stressed that safe, legal and free abortion is now law. Today we are a better society. Thousands of women have died in Argentina as a result of unsafe underground abortions. The landmark decision means Argentina becomes only the 4th Latin American country to permit elective abortions. And pro-choice activists celebrated on the streets of Buenos Aires this Wednesday after the bill legalizing abortion was approved by the Senate, marking a victory for the women's movement that's been fighting for the right for decades.
For me, it is a historic day. For me, it's a fight of all the convicts and of those who are no longer there. It is a day of history. It is a day to celebrate, but this has to be regulated and it has to come out. This has to have public policy and it has to be accompanied by the state. Now I feel that the green tide made it possible and that is going to transcend the world of Latin America. And I feel that it's a conquest in which is going to be reflected in a greater feminist revolution. We have been fighting for a long time to achieve this law of voluntary interruption of pregnancy because we believe that the right to abortion is a matter of human rights, public health and social justice.
Uruguay's Broad Front coalition has warned that the surge in COVID-19 cases in the country is further aggravating the socio-economic crisis as salaries fall and fees for basic services increase. According to the National Emergency System, 8 more COVID-19 related deaths were reported in the last 24 hours, for a total of 168. In addition, 657 new cases were detected, taking a total to almost 18,000, of which more than 5,000 cases remain active. The Broad Front, which has questioned the government's handling of the epidemic, reiterated that the situation is serious and requires a national, political and social agreement to fight and contain the spread of the virus, while also describing the acquisition of a vaccine as fundamental to these efforts. And the Uruguayan government has agreed a hike in utility rates in the midst of the economic and social crisis in the country. We have more details in the following report.
In a troubled year, the Uruguayan government announced that there will be a general rise in utility rates as of January the 1st. With this decision, the government is implementing a second increase since it took office on March the 1st, 2020. The first details regarding the hike came on Tuesday, when the new president of the Antel state-owned telecommunications company announced that the new prices for data, fixed and cellular telephone services.
For mobile telephony there will be an increase of 6.36%, while data services will rise by 9.5%. And in the case of fixed telephony, we are actually cutting the fixed fee by 5.24%. These are the figures, and as I explained, they reflect the structure of all our expenses.
The announcement was followed by a statement from the executive branch with the following adjustments. Fuel prices will increase by 6.19%, supergas by 6.9%, and the price of diesel will remain unchanged. Electricity rates will increase by an average of 5%, and the increase in water rates will be 6.5%. Directors of the public companies that support the opposition have described the moves as negative.
I understand that the substantial figures that UTE has been accumulating allow it to make different decisions in order to adapt the citizen economic situation. So, in principle, the assessment cannot be anything other than negative.
This is also a negative adjustment measure for workers, as it is the confirmation that, just as there was in 2020, there will also be a reduction in real wages in 2021, but it is also a second increase by a government that expressly said during the election campaign that it would lower public utility rates.
The campaign was based on lies, but they tried to make out that there were huge rate adjustments every January 1st, which is far from reality. What happens in the companies is that they have to adjust rates according to inflation to cover costs. This lie, which has been repeated 1,000 times today, is against their interest.
The truth is that this second public utility rates hike in the last 10 months takes place amid the complex economic and social situation in which more and more people are facing difficulty in paying their bills. The increases will be effective as of January the 1st.
teleSUR, Montevideo, Uruguay.
During a visit to the Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel confirmed the positive results of the ongoing clinical trials of two of the country's COVID-19 vaccine candidates named Abdallah and Mambisa. According to the Director General of the prestigious scientific institution, the results that have been obtained so far with the two candidates reflect the safety of both. The two candidates are based on different administration methods, one an intramuscular shot and the other a nasal applied vaccine. Currently in the clinical development phase, Abdallah has been administered to 132 healthy volunteers and Mambisa to 88. Only mild side effects have been recorded to date. Authorities in the United States have confirmed the first case of the new strain of the coronavirus detected in the United Kingdom. The positive COVID-19 case was reported by health authorities in the state of Colorado. The patient is a 20-year-old man who's currently isolated and has no history of travelling. Authorities say they're working to detect any further potential cases of this strain and contain its spread. According to experts, this variation of the novel coronavirus is 70% more contagious. The first shipment of 3 million doses of a Chinese vaccine have arrived in Turkey, boosting confidence and morale for the medical workers on the front line of the fight against COVID-19.
We also began applying a different treatment method after March. This method is called immobilization. We measured the patient's oxygen saturation in different positions. Then we try to stabilize the patient at the two positions with the highest level of oxygen saturation. With the immobilization method, we aim to prevent the virus from spreading in the lungs and the patient from getting tired due to the breathing difficulties. As medical workers, clearly, we are the group with the highest risk because we are in close contact with the coronavirus patients during their treatment. During this period, though not a very high number, there are many doctors who tested positive for coronavirus, and we've lost some of them. but still we continue to work with certain measure and precaution.
Germany's health minister announced that the country's daily coronavirus death toll had crossed 1,000 for the first time, with politicians predicting an extension of the country's partial lockdown beyond the current January 10th deadline. On Wednesday, the Robert Koch Institute's Disease Control Centre reported a total of over 22,400 new infections and 1,129 deaths, breaking the previous record of 962 registered last Wednesday. Health Minister Jens Spahn told reporters in Berlin that the infection and death figures show that the country is still very far from returning to normality. He added that an apparent drop in new infections and deaths in recent days was a result of local authorities not sending in their data over the Christmas period. Germany is under a partial lockdown until January 10th, with most shops closed, along with schools, restaurants, cultural and leisure facilities.
I don't see how in this situation we can go back to where we were before the lockdown, however difficult it might be. This is also the case on New Year's Eve. It is also a time of hope and confidence. Since December 27th, since Sunday, we have been vaccinating all over Germany, all over Europe. Who would have thought 4 or 6 weeks ago that we would be starting this year?
An initial shipment of the Russian Sputnik-V vaccine arrived in Serbia on Wednesday, as officials said it should get a green light for use in early January.
Today is a very nice day and significant day for the Republic of Serbia and Serbian citizens. I think that we are the only country in Europe and maybe in the world that currently has 2 vaccines from different manufacturers and different types. One American that we received a couple of days ago and which is already in use, Pfizer. And today we received 2,400 doses of the Sputnik-V Russian vaccine.
The head of the United Kingdom's Medicines Regulatory Agency confirmed at a press conference that the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine has been approved for use in the country to become the second authorised vaccine in the UK.
The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, the licensing authority, has now, on the basis of the advice of its scientific body, the Commission on Human Medicines, approved the COVID-19 vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University here in the UK, together with the conditions for its supply and use. The safety of the public always comes first. The MHRA's approval has been reached following a thorough and scientifically rigorous review of all the evidence of safety, of quality and of effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine AstraZeneca.
Explosions rocked Yemen's Aden airport on Wednesday, killing at least 26 people shortly after the arrival of a plane carrying a new Saudi-backed unity government. At least 2 explosions were heard as cabinet members were leaving the aircraft. The information minister reported that all the members of the government were safe, but more than 60 people were said to have been injured in the blasts. Another explosion hit close to the city's heavily fortified presidential palace, where cabinet members were taken following the incident at the airport. There are no immediate reports of injuries or fatalities from the second blast site. The cabinet members arrived in Aden days after being sworn in Saudi Arabia. Yemen's internationally recognised Saudi-backed government and southern separatists formed a power-sharing cabinet on December 18th, forging a joint front against the Houthi movement, which has seized the capital, Sana'a, and much of the north of the country. And the Prime Minister of Yemen's Saudi-backed government condemned the attack on Aden airport, in which at least 26 people were killed, just moments after the new unity government flew in.
This was a cowardly terrorist attack. It puts the government in front of its responsibilities, which is the mission for ending the coup and regaining the government's control and spreading stability in our country. The government is in Aden to stay and to exercise its duties and operations. With the strong will of our people, the acts of terror will not stop us from doing our work.
The COVID-19 epidemic in Nigeria has rebounded significantly in December, with a maximum of 1,000 new confirmed cases in a single day. The cases are mainly concentrated in the capital Abuja and the economic centre of Lagos. Nigerian health officials said that the surge has been accelerated by the gathering and movement of residents during traditional holidays, as well as the increased number of returning expatriates from the United Kingdom and the United States. A research institute in southeastern Nigeria discovered 2 mutant different strains of the novel coronavirus in August and October, which are similar to those recently discovered in the UK and South Africa. However, research is still underway.
In the past 2 or 3 weeks, there seemed to have been a rapid increase in incidents reported that could be due to various reasons, until a connection is made between mutation or the new mutant and what we are seeing. We will for now not say that mutation is the reason.
Indian farm workers and the government began the 6th round of negotiations this Wednesday in an attempt to reach an agreement on 3 new agricultural sector laws. The meetings being held in the capital, New Delhi. Representing the government in the negotiations, Trade and Industry Minister Som Prakash stated that this Wednesday's dialogue could be final after the failure of the 5 previous meetings. For a month, 40 agricultural unions have been protesting in rejection of the 3 new laws for the agricultural sector. Workers stress that the new regulations attack food sovereignty, favour the private sector and threaten their livelihoods. China emphasised that its handling of a case involving 12 Hong Kongers who tried to illegally cross the border to Taiwan was in accordance with rule of law and rejected foreign interference regarding the case after their sentence was announced on Wednesday morning.
China is a country under the rule of law, where laws must be followed and violations must be punished. China's judicial organs handle the case in strict accordance of the law. China firmly opposes the interference in Chinese internal affairs and judiciary sovereignty from any country or organization using any excuses. We urge the European side to abide by international laws and the basic principles for international relations, and stop interfering with Chinese judiciary sovereignty and internal affairs in any form.
A spokesperson of the Chinese Foreign Ministry also stressed that the United States must get China's approval before any real estate transaction involving the US Embassy and consulates in China, including the Consulate General in Hong Kong. The $332 million US sale of property owned by its consulate in Hong Kong has not been approved by Chinese authorities.
In view of the United States size regulation on the real estate management of foreign embassies and consulates in the United States, and based on the principle of reciprocity, China requires the U.S. Embassy and consulates in China, including the Consulate General in Hong Kong, to submit a written application in advance and provide detailed information accordingly before the lease, purchase, sale, or in any other way acquire or dispose of real estate properties, and before carrying out new constructions, reconstructions, expansions, and renovations of the premises. Only after getting the Chinese side's approval in written form can their relevant procedures be handled.
And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss. Thank you for watching.